We have seen attacks on free speech in the United States and Europe in the last few years that are unprecedented in modern history. Only dictators like Hitler tried to do the things we're now witnessing. If you criticize open borders and the Islamic invasion of Europe, they arrest you. Facebook bans you. And now those same activities are starting here. It's time to take the blinders off. We have seen men waving Mexican flags beat up women in California on television, and the mayor has come out in the town and said, hey, they deserved it. We have seen attacks on free speech that are truly unprecedented and that are racially motivated. I would be against a group of Caucasian men beating up a Hispanic woman just as much as I'm against a group of Hispanic men beating up an innocent white person, or the KKK going after an innocent black person, or vice versa. I've seen Black Lives Matter, full of their vitriol and hate, just beat up people. In some cases, folks that aren't even Trump supporters, in their hatred, in their built-up victimology of life, that they've got something to prove, and they have a right to be angry and have a chip on their shoulder. And it's all being manipulated by the social engineers.
Know your rights, know your laws. And I promise you, if they go about their burden of whatever they said you're doing, you pull your pussy out and you bust at them. You pull your pussy out and you bust at them. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be you against them. And when we move with the Panthers, trust me, when you see me move, I'm moving in violence.
Now stop clapping. Stop clapping. Stop clapping, because most of y'all folks ain't involved. Real talk.
We're tired of walking around here asking y'all to help us.
No more asking.
We need action. Come on. Take action. I don't give a whether you knock them over, whether you run up on them, whatever you do. You better take action.
And now, ahead of Cleveland next week, we have seen riots all over the country, police shot all over the nation. Every few hours it's happening at courthouses and highways from Michigan to Georgia, from Tennessee to Texas. And we see the White House and the Justice Department, Loretta Lynch, come out and say, you better listen to Black Lives Matter. We've seen Hillary say, better listen up.
I'm going to be talking to white people. I think we're the ones who have to start listening to the legitimate cries that are coming from our African-American fellow citizens.
This is a woman that overthrows countries and puts ISIS in charge to murder hundreds of thousands of Christians. This is a woman that gets $100 million from Saudi Arabia and more from Gulf states, where they totally enslave women. These are the biggest damn hypocrites the world's ever seen. You got a bunch of trendies that don't care about what's right. They want to just say they're liberal and feel good about themselves and see a great agenda of evil foisted on the planet. I'm going to Cleveland because of these bullies. I've said for months I'm going, and I'm going. And I'm going to be there with rallies and live events, standing up for free speech and standing up for what's left of this country. The whole Republican establishment, along with the Democrats, has been trying to block our rallies. We've sued them twice. They failed. They've been trying to keep Trump from getting the nomination. They have pulled out the stops with lies and disinformation because they want the prize that is America, that they've already sold out. They've already shipped our jobs to China. They've already set up tariffs and systems that ensure we can't compete. We're run by traitors, and they can't believe we're starting to wake up like folks did in the UK with the Brexit. Ladies and gentlemen, this is history happening right now. We're covering it right here in InfoWars. And it's more important than ever that you realize history is happening. And what develops here in the next few months is going to change the course of history for good or for bad. But I'm not going to sit there and watch a bunch of brainwashed, government-funded, George Soros-supported thugs run around and attack men, women, and children in the hopes of intimidation. A lot of people watch what different socialist groups are doing, what Bernie Sanders groups are doing, what Black Lives Matter are doing. They say, that's crazy. That discredits them. It's horrible what they're doing. And that's because you're from a perspective of supporting free speech. But for a lot of the young people in this country, and a lot of the people raised by MTV They think anything's okay as long as you say you're liberal. And they think it's cool to support wars, torture, Islamic mutilization of women, Islamic, just absolute sexual genocide. They support all of it because it isn't about actually empowering humanity. It's about them claiming they have the moral high ground in dominating and controlling language and culture and everything else. It's time to get aggressive. It's time to get in these people's faces. It's time to not associate with people you've put up with over the years who claim they're liberal, but then tell you you're bad because you're pro-Second Amendment. I'm so sick of all these Hollywood people that make all these movies where they're badasses with guns and shoot all these folks. They've got bodyguards in real life, but they don't want us to own guns. I'm going to start more and more calling out all the so-called Hollywood badasses that are nothing but establishment whores that want to disarm the people. And I'm going to start calling out other frauds as well. And it's time for you to do it because they're part of a globalist takeover, and they sense they're with the power structure, and they think by going along with it, they somehow have power. They don't realize they're useful idiots who'll be thrown to the side. History shows that. Look, if you want to deny this country's being strangled, if you want to deny that the globalists are breaking this country's will and turning us against each other, that's fine. Let your chains set lightly upon you, as Patrick Henry said. But as for me, I want to know the whole truth and make preparations for it. And as for me, give me liberty or give me death, because being a slave is worse than death. Now back to the live transmission. David Knight, Anthony Gucciardi, and the rest of the crew in Austin, Texas. Lord willing, I'll be back to live tomorrow in studio for what we call the Info War. Last week, we pointed out the globalists have declared open season on free individuals and nations worldwide. When the British left the euro, the globalists decided to go into high gear. They've now announced that Hillary won't be indicted no matter how many crimes she commits. It's time for us to take our matters into our own hands. The globalist warfare model is siege. It wants to make us dependent. It wants to cut off our economies. It wants to be able to set up a worldwide financial crisis where there are food shortages that are already happening in most parts of the world, where they basically bring us to our knees and where we capitulate to their demands. That's why we're extending the July 4th sale right through next week, because it's all about declaring your independence from the globalists. You don't just declare your independence when you buy high-quality storable foods or water filters or shortwave radios at InfoWarsStore.com. You declare your independence when you share links of articles and videos and information from the broadcast, because there's a war on for your mind. It's a total 360 win at InfoWarsStore.com.